Why, hello there. What we're looking at today here in Module 6 is Lesson 3 this time around, and we're going to be doing some more graphing. Here's what we're working with to begin with, and it says right here, use the grid below, so you're not going to have to draw one. You've already got it. And we see use it right here. Oh, wait a second. I need to get my pen going. Let's get rid of this. Let's see if this will work now. Use the grid below to complete the following tasks. Now it's using the word construct. If you're going to construct something, it means you're going to build it. Is that right? Pretty sure. So when we look at this, we can see that it doesn't have an x-axis. It doesn't have, oh, guess what I did? I underlined the wrong one. I said it doesn't have an x-axis, it doesn't have a y-axis, but you know what I mean, don't you? So when we look at this chart, we can see on here that it doesn't have the x and the y-axis. So it's telling us that we're going to make a y-axis through y and z, and then we're going to make an x-axis through z and x. So z is a part of both of them. Let's take a look here. So let's make the y. So we need y and z. Cruising on down here. Here's our z, and we're going to cruise on up here. Let me see if I can make this a little smaller. Oop, that's bigger, isn't it? Here. While we're working on this one, we'll probably make it bigger later. So here's our z right here, and we saw that it said continue on up. And it said use a ruler. I'm not using a ruler, but when you do it, you really should. I'm going to make an arrow. And kind of darken it up a little bit. This is our y-axis, which is funny because look, here's your y right here, because it's already on your point. Now we can guess that the other one, oh, x-axis, here's the x right here. So we're going to go to z, which is in both of them, so therefore it must be a 0, right? The origin. And we're going to cruise along on the x line to make the x-axis. Look at my handwriting, just got way better. How about that? Here's our arrow. Because it goes on. Paper doesn't accommodate it, but if only, right? Alright, so coming back up here, we have now done A, and we've done B. Label the origin as 0. Let's do that. That was what we were talking about. Oh, wait a second. We already did label it. Check it out. We already did that. Head on back. D. The y-coordinate of W is 2 3/5. Label the whole numbers along the y-axis. And then it tells us that the x-coordinate of V is 2 2/5. So then it says label the whole numbers along the x-axis. So let's start with the first one, and we see W. W is right here, and we can label it right now that it is 2 3/5. And now we're going to go down to the x-axis and go 2 2/5 is the V. 2 2/5. So check it out. If I was to put a 1, 2, 3, I'm not writing because I don't feel like erasing, this right here wouldn't make any sense at all, would it? We can see based on this right here, our denominator. So the denominator is telling us that each line is probably worth 5, right? So let's check it out. So this right here would be 1/5. Because if it takes 5/5 to get to a whole, that might be possible. 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. That would make this a 1, wouldn't it? And that means that in order to get to number 2, isn't 2 equal to 10/5? Does that sound right? Because this is top heavy. If you say 5 goes into 10 2 times. There's your answer. So this would be 5 and 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. So this is 2. And then is this true? 2 and 1/5, 2 and 2/5. So this now is true. Let's do the same thing going up here and see if this is still the same thing. Do you see here we've got fifths? So if we go 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5, that makes this a 1. That doesn't look like a 1, does it? It's messy. Is that better? I hope so. 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. That would make this a 2. And as we go on up, if our blue number is true, we know we're good. 2 and 1/5, 2 and 2/5, 2 and 3/5. Let's give it like a sunshine glow, because we're right. We've got it. Let's cruise on back up here. So now we have done both of these. Let's take a look at the next page, shall we? For all of the following problems, it says right here, for all of the following problems, consider the points K through X on the previous page. So identify all of the points that have a y coordinate of 1 and 3/5. So a y coordinate, this is your y line, remember? And we need 1 and 3/5. Here's 1, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5. So 1 and 3/5. Which ones fall on this line then? RMQ. So we'll write RMQ. R, M, and Q fall on there. Now we're going to identify all the points on the x coordinate of 2 and 1/5. So if we go over here, here's our 2 is here, 2 and 1/5. And now we have O, M, and L. Cruise on up just to make sure. O, M, L. O, M, L. All right, let's cruise on down just a little bit and see if we've got some other stuff here. Give the coordinate pair for each of the following points. T, let's check out T. We'll try something different instead of just labeling things. So we have T, and I'm going to make it red so it's easier to see, hopefully. Where is my pen? Is it working? It seems like it might have gone away. Let's see what we can do here. Oh, I'm over here. So we need T. And I just made a line across here. Ignore it, please. So we're going to figure out where T is. We're going to look on our chart. And so we're going to start at 0, of course. We'll cruise on over. And it looks like this line is the one with T on it. So that's going to be 2 and 3/5. So I'm going to mark it right here. Parenthesis. 2 and 3/5, comma. And now how high did we have to go? And we can see right here is 2 and 3/5. This then is 2 and 4/5. So that's the second coordinate. 2 and, I made a comma and I shouldn't have. 2 and 4/5. So I'm going to turn my comma into part of my 5. 2 and 4/5. That's the coordinate point for this dot right here. So if I handed this to you and it was blank, these were labeled and I said, hey, could you please make a T at the point 2 and 3/5 and 2 and 4/5. You'd start at 0 and you'd come on over and you would find 2 and 3/5. And then you would take a look up here and you'd find 2 and 4/5. And this is where they would meet. So it's kind of like a map. So let's do another one. Let's cruise on over. We'll do this one right here. This one right here. 2 and 1/5 and 3. 2 and 1/5 and 3. 2 and 1/5 and 3. We're going to figure out where that is. 2 and 1/5. Here's 2 and 1/5. So it's going to be on this line right after the 2. And then we go up to the number 3. So we're going to go on up, starting here at 2 and 1/5. We're going to keep going up, up, up. So if this is 2 and 3/5, 4/5, 5/5, here's our point. So that one's going to be L. So here's where we found that. We had 2 and 3/5 and 3, and it's the letter L. So now you can kind of see what's going on with this. Here is the homework for this evening. And I will have sent home a paper with this on it. And it's saying on here, let's make it a little bigger. Use a ruler on the grid below to construct the axes for a coordinate plane. So a coordinate plane. Do you remember yesterday when we were kind of talking about the whole concept of lines, that we had parallel lines, and then we figured out what perpendicular lines were, and it used the word plane when we were listening to Siri on my iPhone. Remember that? If you need to, as a reminder, go visit Siri and say, what is the meaning of perpendicular? She'll tell you. And it has to do with a plane. The x-axis should intersect the points L and M, and then construct the y-axis for K and L. And look it looks pretty gosh darn clear already, doesn't it? You're just going to make this darker. Label each axis. Next thing you're going to do is place a hatch mark on each grid line on the X and Y. So a hatch mark. A hatch mark. So that's going to look something like this, right? So here's a hatch mark. And you would just keep going across on your X and then do the same thing on your Y. And then it says label each mark so that A is sitting at 1, 1. Here's A right there. And so if that is 1 over from here, whew, it's not then just this is 1. Can't possibly be, right? Right? You're going to go, how many spaces are there between that? And if that makes 1, do the same thing for going up top. What numbers do you get in there? And then it says plot each of the following points. So 1/4, oh, here's a hint right here. Right, a 4. What did they break their numbers into? You can figure this out, I know it. And I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to bring your paper. Bye.